few brief remarks and then we will open up for questions. I'm here today to provide an update to the people of the province on the status of the negotiations of the Terra project. Despite significant efforts on the part of all parties and a significant financial offer by the provincial government, the future of the Terra project remains uncertain. To support the long-term viability and benefits attached to the Terra project, the provincial government has committed over $500 million in financial assistance over the remaining life of the project, which includes $205 million from the Newfoundland and Labrador Oil and Gas Industry Recovery Assistance Fund, which is an increase of $30 million from the original MOU terms, and changes to the royalty structure via over $300 million. However, these terms have not been accepted by project owners, and currently we are at an impasse. Our government is and continues to be supportive of the province's oil and gas industry and the Terra project, as demonstrated by this significant financial offer that is on the table. However, we as a government and a province have a duty to all residents, and given our fiscal situations, we cannot support this project at all costs. While the provincial government has and had discussed terms on taking an equity stake in the project, the risk has proven to be too great for a project which is so late in its life, and given an equity share will come with additional costs at the time of abandonment. In excess of 85% of current oil reserves for the Terra project have already been produced. Unlike current project owners, taking on an equity stake as a new partner involves significant risk to the provincial government. The current project owners are already committed to abandonment costs at a future date. The provincial government, as a new equity owner, would be committing to costs in the hundreds of millions of dollars without any guarantee of a return. In summary, we have made a significant financial offer to the project owners to secure the Terra project. However, given our fiscal situation, we're unable to take on the significant risks associated with an equity investment in this project. I'm calling on project owners to continue to work to find an equity solution. These companies have significantly more financial resources available to them than the provincial government. And at this time, I'd like to say thank you, and I'm going to open it up for questions.
Thank you, Minister. There are 7 reporters registered for today's call. Our first questions are from Brian Callahan. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Minister, for being available. Can you give us an idea on what exactly the amount is that needs to be bridged to fill the gap here?
Well, the amount would be, there's an equity stake on the table where we're looking at around 15%. And it's and again, that number has fluctuated throughout the course of this matter, which has been ongoing for a year now, I would note. But right now, again, we have been examining, we've been looking, we've been analyzing, we've been doing everything we can, but we cannot reconcile the risk that comes with it. And at this point, there is no equity on part of the provincial government in this project. But I would again point out that $500 million in financial commitment is a significant commitment.
There are a lot of, there's even radio ads going on today, Minister, and other news releases coming from community groups trying to save the project. What do you say to those people and the communities and the mayors who are pushing to save the project? Does it seem to be a lack of communication there? I mean, you've clearly said that it's out of government hands and it's in private hands, that this is their decision. So what do you say to those communities who continue to push for to save the project?
Well, I absolutely understand why people would be pushing for the project to happen, whether it's community leaders, whether it's Unifor or NOIA. I mean, it makes sense for them. But the reality is that we have a commitment to all the citizens in this province, and we are being asked to bear risk that we think is too great. And I would suggest that there are 8 parties in this negotiation. We are just one. So I don't know why everything would be directed at us when there are 7 other partners that play a role here.
Thank you, Minister.
Next questions are from Kellyanne Roberts with NTV News.
Thank you. Minister, you note the $205 million from the recovery fund that is up from the initial $175 million that was offered. Now that it looks like the offer the province before is fully rejected. What do you plan on doing with that portion of the recovery fund?
Well, I would point out, just let's make this clear, that the 205 is not off the table. We still have a very generous and significant offer that's put out there. We just believe that the current project owners need to find the equity solution amongst themselves or in the market. We cannot take that on, but we are still willing to support this project. I think we need to note that. And today, we are at an impasse. We realize that that aspect will not continue on as it relates to equity. That's why we're putting that out there. But look, I still have hope that this can happen. I still have hope that the project owners will see that there's a future here and that we feel that they should find a way to bridge the gap. There's a big difference in the bottom line of these multinational companies and the provincial government. But again, when you look at the offer that's there, over $500 million, I think that says a lot. That being said, depending on where this goes, and again, we still hope for a positive resolution, I do think we can pivot, and there is interest out there for other projects, which we are always willing to work with, but our goal had always been to find a way to make this offer to Terra Nova work.
As far as you're aware, is the June 15th date set by partners with the Terra Nova project, is that still a firm date for the deadline for an agreement?
That's what we understand. That was a date that was put forward by the operating partner, again, given their situation. So, whether that changes or not would be up to them. It wasn't a date that was projected by the province, but right now we felt that it was incumbent on us to reach out, to put this information out for everybody to see where we are, and given the fact that we think that we've hit an impasse here on this part, but again, we'll see what happens as we move forward.
Thank you.
Our next questions are from Sarah with the Canadian Press. Sarah, are you on the line? Okay, we'll skip Sarah and go to Glenn Whiffen with the Telegram. Please go ahead.
Well, Minister, the equity stake, was the deal done with the equity stake in it, or did the government pull back after further analysis of it?
Try and make sure I understand your question. I don't think there was obviously never a deal done.
Okay.
Yeah, no. This is just a case of, and I will point out that this has been a year-long negotiation. The goalposts have changed multiple times. It's gone back and forth multiple times. There's been a lot of moving parts, always fluid. So right now, though, we believe we are at the impasse as it relates to the equity, and so that's why I'm here today.
Was there a negotiation on the equity, like a lower percentage or something like that they would have accepted?
Without getting too far into it, what I can say, and again, I would put out the caveat that we are still subject to NDAs here, non-disclosure agreements, so I do have to gauge what I can and cannot say. Obviously, I'm trying to be careful, still respecting the fact that there's work still to be done amongst the partners, that we're still at that table with the money we have put there. But again, the equity conversation has been one that's gone all over the place. And obviously, yes, of course we consider it. We've said to people all along, we would consider and have considered absolutely everything. But when you get down to it, the final analysis shows that the risk is too great for us to take on.
Okay, thank you.
Our next questions are from Alex with allnewfoundlandlabrador.com. Please go ahead.
So you've put $500 million in incentives on the table, and $500 million is roughly the cost of the asset life extension. So what is your understanding of why one or more of these minority partners do not wish to see this project proceed?
Well, I don't want to speak or put words in the mouths of the project owners. I mean, I don't think that would be fair for me to do. And I would point out that, a lot of these partners are partners that have been in our offshore for a long time and have other projects. And so there will have to be and will be a working relationship. I mean, I don't think that one operation impacts all. The fact is there are multiple ongoing deals and operations. So I'll let them speak for themselves as to, the why there has been, and I think I am allowed to say that there has been for a long time a misalignment amongst partners in terms of their goals, but I think it would be best for them. What I can do is speak on behalf of our government in that we didn't feel it was fair to the people of this province to make this investment as it related to equity. We just, again, we've always gauged risk and reward, and the risk was too great for us to take on. And we saw a lot of downstream issues that we would be faced with that we weren't willing to incur for in the future.
Thanks. A CBC story posted this morning mentioned 4 partners leaving or departing the project. Can you comment on that, and if any of these partners are leaving? Because I would think they all have decommissioning obligations.
Look, the reality is that amongst any partner that's in the project, decommissioning or abandonment costs would be something that everybody would have contemplated and would be prepared to incur. I can't tell you the amounts, and I won't speak to the companies or the misalignment that's there. The reality is that we do have a royalty carryback cost that will be incurred. That's there whether we took the deal or not. We're quite aware of it, and we have that factored in. But taking on an interest in the project of whatever nature would bring about future costs as it relates to asset life extension, as to any other planned costs, and for future abandonment, which could be, up to a maximum we're estimating of 10 years down the road. But one of the fears was, what if it happens before then?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Our next questions are from Roger with iPolitics. Please go ahead, Roger.
Thank you. What is the royalty carryback estimate?
Not sure if we can. Is it? Just 1 second, Roger. I'm conferring with Craig here.
Yeah, the royalty carryback estimate at this point varies depending on the estimate of the actual abandonment costs that are associated, and it would vary as well depending on which model, whether you were looking at an early abandonment, which is a potential, or asset life extension happening, which would be a future abandonment in activity starting in just over 10 years.
So what would the spread be?
It would be, the cost associated with it is in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Can you be more specific?
It's kind of hard because the variables are so high and the possibilities so high that I don't think it would be fair for us, or it would put us in a bad spot to put a number there that we simply don't know and can't control. And again, depending on some decisions that are out of our control, that might change the number. So again, as Craig said, it is significant. It is in the hundreds. If that's where this goes, then we will have more information to be provided down the road as we get it.
It's fair to say hundreds of millions of dollars of royalties that have already been paid will have to be returned to the partners.
That is the case.
Okay, thank you. I don't have another question.
Thank you, Roger. Next question is from Terry Roberts with CBC News. Please go ahead.
Yeah, we have a new oil and gas corporation here in this province. So I'm just wondering, what was their involvement in this, and were they, and talking about alignment, were they aligned with the province not taking an equity position in Terra Nova?
Well, again, yes, we do have Oilco, who were created a few years ago, I guess spun off from Nalcor to help manage our assets. And they have played, obviously, a role in this. That's why they were created, and they would be in line with the province's goals. The way it's set up, obviously, is that they convey the province's interests, they convey the province's goals, they manage our assets, and they certainly would be an active participant and one that would be in line with the directions of government.
And could there be a domino effect here? Because I know Suncor and Cenovus/Husky are involved in West White Rose, so could this have implications beyond the Terra Nova field?
Well, you know what? That is something that that's been speculated on, and again, I believe that would be a question best asked to the main owner, which would be Cenovus/Husky. What I can say is that my understanding is that these are two independent assets and with independent business cases and independent choices to be made. There was some conversation or fear that one would lead to an abandonment of the other. That's not my case. I think it comes down to profitability. I think it comes down to money to be made, and so I remain quite optimistic. We look forward to we're scheduled to talk to Husky again very soon, and we'll continue to work on that. That project we think is very far along. So we think that there's a profitable case to be had there, and that's what's going to drive these decisions by these operators is profits, money.
Thank you, Terry. I will now go back to each reporter for an additional question. Please hold your follow-ups for Scrum Area post-question period. Thanks. The next question is from Brian Callahan, VOCM News.
Minister, just to sum up, can you estimate the impact on the province? It's pretty ominous, with less than a week away. If Terra Nova is abandoned, in real numbers, we're hearing a lot of numbers from unions and communities, but what's your understanding of the impact on Newfoundland and Labrador's economy and jobs?
Well, certainly. I mean, and again, I have to reiterate that this is not a provincial government decision as to whether this goes ahead. It is absolutely not solely on us. In fact, we are not a project operator. We're not a project owner. In fact, we're a provincial government that's offering $500 million. But no doubt, when you see something of this nature not continue, well, the question, again, there's decisions to be made by the project owners going forward, and we do realize the negative implications that come with GDP loss, royalty loss, job loss. I would point out, though, that those have completely been factored in and against the other risk factors about where do we end up in the future in terms of abandonment and other unseen costs which affect taxpayers. Like it's in many ways it's extremely difficult. But we've always said, look, we'll go. We're trying to go out of our way. We're trying to do what we can, but we cannot do it at all costs and leave ourselves hanging here. I literally spend most of my day dealing with the last time a province did something at all costs, and we're dealing with the repercussions from that mega project. In this case, the lessons have been learned, and just because, again, it's not like we're sat here today saying that we don't want to be a role. $500 million is a lot for a province like Newfoundland and Labrador. We're committed to helping. We're committed to the other projects, and again, I know there's going to be blowback for that. I expect that. I wouldn't expect anything otherwise from the groups who are directly affected by this. But we cannot make bad decisions. We're trying to reduce the bad decisions, and we feel that in this case, this is the best decision right now. And again, I am hopeful that these owners will take the money that's been offered to them, and they will bridge the gap. They will find a way to make this happen. That is what we want. We are not sitting here today talking about zero. We're sitting here talking today about hundreds of millions of dollars being offered to some of the biggest companies in the world to ensure the future here. I think that's pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Brian. Next question goes to Kellyanne, NTV.
Thank you. Minister, did the companies ask for the equity stake or did the province offer it?
What I would suggest is that the equity was certainly something that would have been first initiated by the project owners.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Next question goes to Glenn with the Telegram.
Actually, I'm good. You can pass. Go to the next person.
Thanks, Glenn. Alex, do you have a question for the minister?
Yeah. Is it possible to use the money earmarked for Terra Nova, if the project doesn't go ahead, to cover some of that royalty carryback?
I'm not sure if the parameters of the agreement would allow you to take the money to put into that. I don't think that was contemplated. The fund was originally contemplated to deal with the crisis we were facing, especially as it related to employment here and the future of the project. So I don't think that that's a case. And in fact, what I can say is that in terms of the money that is put here that was allocated for this, there's a significant amount of demand for it, including the $32 million that's been held to the side for the supply and service side. I mean, the interest for that $32 million, I can tell you that there's well over triple that amount in terms of applications that have been made for that amount of money. We're confident that the money here will be, either way, it's going to be used for positive means. I just don't know if that's one of the ones that would be allowed under the terms.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Roger with iPolitics, you have a follow-up question.
Yes, I do. Is it $300 million in royalty that you're prepared to waive? Is that what all of the royalty that you would have expected to collect had the project gone ahead, or if the project were to have gone ahead?
So the $300 million would be the amount that would be the difference between the royalty regime that's been offered at this point in time versus the royalty regime that was in existence before. And it would be based on how the project actually performs at the end of the day. So that $300 million is based on the current forecast.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. This will be the final question if Terry has one, as Minister Parsons has to get to the House of Assembly. Terry, do you have a follow-up question?
Just a quick one, I guess. We have word now with the Keystone Pipeline and its cost to the Alberta government. Is that a factor here?
It was not a factor in the decision-making process. Obviously, it's extremely recent, but I think it is a significant lesson to provincial governments of the risk that comes with, these types of investments. So it's interesting, the timing, but did not play a role. This was based solely on numbers here in Newfoundland and Labrador and all the various factors, direct and indirect. And I'm going to apologize to everyone. I got to go back up to the House. I assume I'm going to get some questions, but I'm certainly available after the House, after question period. If there's any follow-up, more than welcome to take more questions if that's okay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. As a reminder, Minister will be available for questions in the scrum here.